The biggest problem with the Shadow2 Carry is that it is so fun to shoot that it does kind of get expensive after a while. I just don't want to put it down. Greetings and welcome to phase 2 of my Shadow2 Carry build. I'm Mike, this is 360 Tactical Solutions, and today I'm going to focus a little bit on some upgrades from LOK grips. Now, my introduction to the Shadow2 Carry, I mentioned that I wanted to wait until I hit that 1,000 round mark on this gun before I changed anything. To me, this is important for a couple of reasons. First off, if I go ahead and I start changing components on a gun before I have time to really put it through its paces and pass that break-in period, it's going to be so much harder to pinpoint exactly where a potential failure is coming from, whether it's some sort of defect from the factory or something that I introduced by changing vital components to the firearm. Generally speaking, with a new gun, if you're going to run into issues, it's going to be somewhere in that first 1,000 rounds. So you might as well just take it out and shoot the crap out of it and get a good feel for it before you change anything on the gun. The other reason that I wait until 1,000 rounds is because if I buy a brand new gun and then, right out the gate, I go ahead and change, I don't know, the trigger and the recoil system and, I change all these parts. Really, I have no basis to compare what it was pre-aftermarket parts to post-aftermarket parts. So really all I know at that point is the fully upgraded gun, and I don't really have a feel for how it functions from the factory. So I like to do things in stages, and my first stage with this is going to be the LOK grips, Magwell, and of course, mag bases. Now, I didn't really like the stock grips on this gun. I felt like they were a little smooth for my liking. I've said this a bunch of times, but I really do prefer something with a more aggressive texture. One of the things that I really like about the Shadow2 series, and I'm gonna hammer this home throughout probably every video that I make on this gun, is the aftermarket support. I like the fact that you can basically change everything about this gun in a similar way that you can with a 1911 or a 2011. There's just so much out there. From the factory, the grips that they put on these guns are fairly low profile, and they're not exactly smooth, but they're not exactly aggressive. This is why I went with the LOK grips. I looked at hundreds of different grips before I made the decision to go with LOK, because I wanted something with a little bit of a palm swell to help fill out my grip just a little bit better. But I also wanted something really aggressive. These palm swell gridlock grips are just that. Normally, I'm not a big fan of palm swells, but in this case, I really do feel like this one fills it out just enough that it fits my hand perfectly without, widening it to the point that it feels like a brick in my hand. They're super ergonomic, and I really like these grips. They come in two different lengths, short and standard. Of course, I have the short here because the short grips are made for use with a Magwell. Before we move on to Magwell, the grip texture on this, I have been carrying it for 4 days now. I think I put all these parts on here 4 days ago. I've been carrying this the last few days, and I don't find it to be aggressive to the point that when this is rubbing up against my skin, it's irritating or causing any rashing or any weird issues like that. But I will say that added grip texture and that palm swell give me a heck of a lot better grip when I'm firing this under live fire conditions. Grip is everything when it comes to recoil mitigation. I have a few guns. I have the Apollo 11 double stack 1911, and the grips that those guns come with have these weird golf ball dimple style grip texture, and it is so smooth that most of the time when I'm shooting it, regardless of the conditions, it's really hard to keep a hold of it because there's no grip. the texture is absolutely the worst. And then you move into something like this that really sticks to the skin, and you can really grip down on it and just get more control over the gun and work against that recoil that much more. Recoil mitigation is the reason that I went with a Magwell on this gun. Now, it is a carry gun. I don't want some big flared out competition style Magwell on here, because I do still want to have it somewhat low profile in order to conceal it. This Magwell is kind of the best of all worlds, so to speak. It is low profile enough that I can carry this gun without it printing too terribly badly. I do still have a reasonable funnel for mag changes, but the big thing with this is that it extends the grip down enough and gives you this nice little ledge right here for the pinky in order to get more leverage over the gun. Now, pretty much all of my carry guns I do run a Magwell on. I have several Hellcat Pros, 2 of which have the Magwells from Floyd's Custom Shop on them, and I find that when I'm bearing down on the gun with a Magwell, it gives me just a little bit more ability to get that grip with my pinky to fight against recoil. Obviously, 9mm, it's not a ton of recoil, but anything that you can do to reverse the effects of muzzle rise is a good thing. On the flip side of that, in order to use this Magwell, you are going to switch over to the LOK mag bases. The stock ones are no longer going to fit. Now, a lot of people will complain about that. Oh, I got to spend X amount of dollars on a Magwell, and then I have however many mags, and I have to put mag bases on all of them in order to use it. Is it really worth it? I even commonly hear people make comments like, oh, you know, this Magwell design is a scam. They just design it this way to force you to buy more of their products, mag bases. It's really frustrating. Honestly, Magwells are worth it. And when you look at pretty much any of the companies, reputable companies that make good quality Magwells that aren't eBay specials, they're going to require you to use different mag bases. This boils down to the design both externally and internally. When you look at the stock mag bases for these, they're slightly oversized. They have a little bit of a foot that comes forward. And in order to design a Magwell that's going to work around those stock mag bases, it's going to be quite a bit larger externally than what it really needs to be. You're going to run into more issues with printing. The internal lip, the funnel, is going to be thinner. If you look at any of those ones that say that they work with stock mag bases, really, they're garbage. If you're going to upgrade your gun with a Magwell, stop complaining about having to change the mag bases. Just buy them. They're going to be a lot better long term. Stop complaining. What you're getting in terms of performance with that is well worth what you're going to pay switching over your mag bases. One of the upgrades that I thought I had in my cart when I checked out was the mag release, but apparently a few days ago when I went to put these parts on the gun, as it turns out, I didn't order it. So I had to double back, order the mag release, and hopefully it's here, I don't know, next week. We'll go ahead and talk about that in whatever, the next video. The question is there a noticeable difference shooting this gun with the LOK grips and the LOK Magwell? I definitely need some mag extensions. So this LOK grip is certainly a huge improvement. That Magwell is really helping me get a good, firm, solid grip on the gun. Even on days like today where I can't shoot for shit, I still have plenty of control over this thing. I've got a paper target and 2 steel targets from TA Targets out there that I'm working on. One is about 15 yards. I've got another one at about 20, and then somewhere in between is the paper target. All right, so I'm really enjoying the way that this grip feels in my hand. I would say though, if there was one improvement that I could make at this point, it would be some sort of thumb ledge or thumb rest, just to give me a little bit something to put my thumb. I do kind of feel like this slide stop is, I don't know, it's a little awkward. I'd like a little something here. So I'll have to work on that, but so far so good. All right, we're about to wrap up here. It's been a nice productive day. Not bad. I did notice when I tap on the bottom, get a little bit of that action, which I kind of appreciate for speed reloads. You never know when that might come in handy. Damn, my hands are getting tired. I think I'm getting close to being done for the day. Basically getting useless at this point. Okay, Gridlock grips with the palm swell by LOK grips. These things are like sandpaper, but in a good way. Now, I am creeping up on my 45th birthday, August, for those of you who are interested, and I have all kinds of health conditions. Bad knee, several shoulder injuries, my neck is all jacked up, my hands are basically useless. I have very little grip strength, and that comes from years and years and years of working with my hands, different hand injuries, carpal tunnel, and early stage arthritis. So anything that I can do to maximize my grip to be able to work against muzzle rise is a good thing. With the Shadow2 Compact, I get that amazing beaver tail and all the ergonomics for it to really work for me. Adding these LOK grips is, I don't want to say like glue, but I mean, that grip texture is aggressive enough that when I bear down on it, this gun doesn't feel like it's going anywhere. And part of that comes from having the Magwell to really secure my pinky and, you know, my middle finger into the trigger guard. I've got the ultimate grip texture here. I've got the beaver tail working for me. Everything is just kind of flowing in a way that the gun feels more secure in my hand than almost any other gun that I own. So without changing any actual like functional components to this gun, I have made it to where it feels more secure, I have more control over it, and I can do a much better job of getting nice tight groups at a higher rate of fire. Now, maybe you have big old banana hands and adding a Magwell doesn't make sense because, you know, your pinky is going to go down over it. I don't know what the case is. Maybe you have gorilla grip strength and you don't need any of that. I don't know. But I will say this. I will take any advantage that I can get because, you know what? I'm too fat to run and I'm too old to fight. So just to recap, the stock grips on the Shadow2 Carry, they are thin and low profile, which works well for concealment. But these palm swell grips from LOK, you know, they don't make any difference in the profile when I'm concealing this gun. Still works just the same. Same can be said for the Magwell. Those grips are super aggressive and give me so much more control over the gun. So does the Magwell. As far as the mag bases go, getting rid of those plastic mag bases and moving over to these slightly heavier aluminum ones does help drop the mags from the gun a little bit better. I also feel like they add a certain amount of balance because you do have a little bit more weight down there. I wanted to get some mag extensions. We'll work on that here in the near future because honestly, 15 rounds is never enough. The more the merrier. And the mag release will be here soon so that I can test that out and let you guys know what I think in the next installment of CZ Shadow2 Carry upgrades. If you have any gun in the hammer-fired CZ line, I'm going to tell you right now, your best bet is going to be going over to LOK Grips and picking out one of their sets of grips. This palm swell, although I was a little apprehensive about it, the minute that I gripped it in my hand, I was 100% positive that I made the right decision going with the palm swell version versus the flat version. The bottom line, you cannot go wrong with upgrades from LOK Grips. That's it for today. I've got a couple more boxes of ammo that I'm gonna go ahead and burn. And then that's it. I might go swimming later today if it clears up. Who knows? It's Washington. Our weather is bipolar. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you back here real soon.